All right, welcome back to Chicago Hockey Radio. Justin Lynch and Tassos Kirkos, Raven Gasser on the production side today. No Lee Grossman as he is off, but he will be back tomorrow for our Halloween post game and also Friday for the podcast. Hope everybody is doing well. Justin, how are we feeling today, brother?
Yeah, no, feeling good. Shake and bake. Yeah, Halloween Eve. We're looking forward to that. Got a big game against the Sharks coming up. The scariest matchup in the league, Hawks versus Sharks. So I think the NHL did a nice job scheduling that one. And yeah, for the Blackhawks coming off a big win on Monday, which we'll talk about more today. I think the vibes are finally starting to go up after a bit of a rough start to the season. So yeah, nearing the end of October, beginning of a new month, we'll see where we go. Yeah.
Who knew the Sharks would be the hottest team in the NHL? Oh, first of all, hope everybody likes our costumes. I know I'm sparking a bit of. I dig yours a lot, but I hope mine sparks a bit of debate here. Would love to get everybody riled up wearing a Blues jersey here.
Yeah, that's scary. That's a scary costume you got there, man.
So the Sharks are the hottest team in the National Hockey League right now. They beat the Los Angeles Kings 4-2 last night for their, and you know, we can talk about the game against the Avs a little bit more, I guess, but I do want to dive into tomorrow's matchup. It's a late one for us here in Chicago, and even later for you, an hour ahead on Eastern time, but so brutally late post game tomorrow night. But expectations tomorrow versus the Sharks, I mean, I know they're playing better, but there should be no reason that the Hawks don't go in here and take 2 points tomorrow night.
Yeah, and the Hawks have owned the Sharks in recent memory. They swept them last year. And yeah, I mean, I know the Sharks coming off 2 consecutive wins, and all of a sudden it looked like a bit of a wagon over there. But I mean, do we really think the Sharks team is capable of winning 3 consecutive games? I don't think so, especially without Macklin. So I think the Hawks, you got to come in, you got to steamroll them, you got to win that game. There's no really excuses for me. We did beat them their home opener. They did make it a game late, but I thought otherwise we kind of controlled it, and I'm kind of expecting the same Halloween. Not necessarily a blowout. I think it'll probably be a close game. I think these Hawks-Sharks games actually tend to be pretty entertaining, pretty exciting, actually. So I'm actually looking forward to it. I wish it wasn't 10:30 Eastern time. It's probably going to be a 1 o'clock Eastern post-game show, but it is what it is. The Hawks better win that, because if they lose, ain't nobody going to be watching that shit. So yeah, we need a Hawks win, and hopefully a big game from Bedsy. I think it's kind of due for a multi-goal game. I think that's one prediction I'll make outside of a Hawks win. I think I will see a multi-goal game from Bedsy, which we have yet to see this year. I think the Hawks will be a high-scoring game. I'll say a 6-4 win. Yeah.
Oh, you're already throwing out the prediction, right?
Yeah. Just get out of the way, right?
Yeah. I want to see how Connor Bedard responds to not having a great game against the Avalanche. I want to see him maybe even take over a game like this, where he's going to probably be the best player on the ice for both teams. That doesn't really happen a whole heck of a lot. So I would love to see him come out and really put everybody on notice tomorrow night. Want to see how Philip Kurashev responds after a really good game. Is he going to stay on the top line? I assume the answer is yes. Can maybe a game like this open up some room for some of the guys who've been struggling? Taylor Hall, Tyler Bertuzzi, those kinds of guys. What is this like? Could this be a cookie night for the Hawks? Could it be a cookie night for the Sharks? I mean, I have no idea. These teams should not be as evenly matched on paper. Like, they're not evenly matched on paper. I would say the Hawks are a much better team than the San Jose Sharks, or at least should be. But, man, I don't know if they're going to come out with a stinker tomorrow night.
They better not. I do think this is a pretty important game, because I think 3-6-1, I'd say first 10 games, maybe not quite what we wanted to see. Record-wise, I think, competition-wise, just watching the team, I think the teams look good. Like I've said it before, I think they deserve more than 3 wins, but you want to end the month on a high, right? You want to get momentum going into November. Then we got, Kings Saturday. Funny enough, the game last night was our next 2 opponents, Sharks Kings. I wouldn't say either of them looked particularly good, to be honest. So, and then we got the Ducks after that. So I think these are 3 games. Like, you can make a case the Hawks could win all 3 of them. I mean, probably not. You want to at least win 2 of them, I think. You don't want to win just one against the Sharks. But no, I think this is a game you want to win. I mean, hockey, anybody can beat anybody, and the Sharks are finally starting to look like a hockey team. But even though they've won the last 2, I don't see it any differently than I would the Monday postgame show. I still think this is a game for the Hawks you got to come away with. Bedsy's got to have a dominant game. He's had some really good ones this year, but I want to see him really, like you said, put the hammer down, be by far and away the best player on the ice. And yeah, that second line, it'd be nice to finally see them get cooking. I mean, 5 points combined from Kurashev and Hall this season. They really got to start producing. If I'm Richardson, that's another discussion for the lineup. We don't know it yet, but if I'm Richardson, don't change a thing. Like the way it looked on Monday, definitely the best combos he's thrown out there. I literally would not touch it. Maybe goaltending. I mean, Mrazek, I'm not sure if he's going to start a fifth consecutive game. Maybe he does. Maybe they put Soderblom in. It gets team with the Sharks. I'd be okay with that. Because then you got back to back coming up after that. So actually, Mrazek could start that game. Now I think about it, but anyway, we'll see what the lineup looks like. Hopefully, it's similar though. Because Richardson, he does tend to put his lines in the blender. I think change it too much sometimes. You got to let things fester. I think sometimes you got to keep the same lineup for multiple games to really get a gauge of where we're at. So yeah, definitely keep Kershaw up there to your point as well.
So Drew Comesso has been sent down, which probably means, or which I'm pretty sure does mean that Arvid Soderblom at the very least has returned to health from his sickness. So I would probably give Soderblom the start tomorrow, and then give Mrazek 2 against the Kings and the Ducks, and see how that goes.
Ooh, another back to back for Mrazek. Eh?
Yeah, but you know what though? Like, if you're gonna do it, you might as well. Like, if you're thinking about it already, you probably might as well do it. I would say you probably can't start Mrazek all 3 games, even if you might be tempted to if you're Luke Richardson.
No shot. That'd be like 7 consecutive games or something like that. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it just would show the lack of faith that the organization would have in Soderblom, and I don't think they have that little faith in him. I think they do still believe in him a little bit, and he has played better this year than what we saw the last 2 seasons, really.
Yeah, is it possible to get worse than that? But no, you're totally right. The 2 games he's played, like he's looked like an NHL goaltender. So I think he definitely deserves a game in there for sure. 3 California games. We'll see how it goes, a California trip, but yeah, should be intriguing for sure.
They also sent down, or they called up Isaac Phillips. I have to be honest with you. I still thought he was up with the team. I mean, like this yo-yo is going to be the
it's
whole
the third
season.
time. Third time this season. I mean, we're not even a month in, and he hasn't even played a game at the Hawks yet. So get Phillips in the lineup. Okay, that's one change I would make. Yes, get Phillips in the lineup. Give him a game. This guy's constantly got his suitcase and like his air miles. He's just constantly flying back and forth between. I guess they're not really flying to Rockford, Chicago, but still, it's like he's hardly playing. Because when you're constantly the 70 and the Hawks, and then by the time you get back to Rockford, sometimes you miss the game anyway because you just got sent down. So he's not really playing much. So tough situation for Isaac. Hopefully they actually get him into some game action because. Yeah, I just kind of feel for him the way he's been bouncing around. It's like he's being bounced around like a sorority girl at a fraternity. I don't know.
Yeah. So yeah, I don't really know what to expect out of this Sharks game, which kind of scares me a little bit. Like
What is a scary matchup?
Yeah, Halloween, I guess. But just like the idea that you could go in there and lose that game is, like the Sharks have won 2 in a row. They've been playing, it's all come in the third period too, which shows that like last season, much like some of the Hawks games that I caught last season of the Hawks, obviously I wasn't as tuned in as I am this year to the team, but man, I like some Sharks games, like they just were like dead. They were roadkill. Yeah. And now it's a matter of, you have some character in your lineup with guys like Tyler Toffoli and Alex Wenberg and Jake Wallman. And you know what I mean? Like you added some character into your lineup. And so now when they're like down 4-1 to Utah with 6 minutes left, or they're, they score 3 goals in the third period against the Kings last night. Like it shows that, when you have a bad start, this team isn't necessarily out of it, which, the Hawks haven't always been. I mean, I don't think San Jose is the kind of team that's going to like jump on them and the Hawks are going to find themselves down 3-0 in this game. But I could definitely see this being a game where the Hawks are up and then they end up losing the game. You get what I'm saying?
No, I do get what you're saying. The Sharks team, like I will say, like it's a bad team, but they do have some offensive pieces. Like they can score goals. It's not an issue for this team. I mean, McGranlund's been insane. Toffoli's been a good addition. Eklund's coming into his own. Wallman's been a good addition in the back end. He's like the one defenseman in that team who can produce offensively. Zetterlund's been scoring. So it's like they got pieces, and they've been doing this without Macklin too. So, I mean, yeah, their defense sucks, their goaltending sucks, but they can score goals. So the Hawks definitely got to be wary of that. Their defense has to have a strong game. Can't take them lightly. You can't take the Sharks team lightly. It's easy to do so. But they're a pesky bunch, kind of like us. So no, I think it should be an interesting game for sure. I honestly don't really know. Like you said, I really don't know what to expect. This one might be kind of one of those back and forth affairs. Like this could be like one of those really high scoring, like 7-6, 8-5 games. Honestly, I think it's going to be an absolute cinema, to be honest.
8-5 would be a That would be a wild game. I have
This
no
has
idea.
all the makings of one of those types of games. It's just completely wild. Yeah, I could totally see it.
Um, so I'm trying to think of where we should go here. Should we talk about the Sportico stuff? Let's talk about the Sportico stuff.
Sure.
So because we could have slipped this in, and I think this is going to kind of bleed into NHL our discussion a little bit here. But the Sportico company has released their annual rankings for franchise valuations in the National Hockey League. The Chicago Blackhawks currently find themselves in the 6th place spot on that list. And it is for the first time ever, all 32 teams, every team in the National Hockey League is valued at over $1 billion.
That's the Coyotes not being here anymore effect.
Well, actually, do you know who's in the last spot?
Let me guess. Is it the Jackets?
It is the Jackets.
Oh wow. Okay,
$1.06 billion.
Wow. It would have been the Panthers, but I guess that cup run probably helped them out a bit, right? Yeah.
Yeah. But every team saw an increase in their valuation, which is kind of interesting. Does that mean sorry, I can't do this whole show with the hockey gloves on. I tried to do it for a little bit and I can't do it. I need some mobility here with my hands and the ability to look at this stuff. Isn't that a little weird to you? Like that all of the teams. So like I'm looking at I'm trying to find the lowest increase.
Oh,
the lowest level. It says on this list that every team saw an increase. The lowest one being 19% by the Winnipeg Jets.
That's the lowest, 19% gain.
Yes, 19% gain. The highest is crazy.
Do you know is it the Leafs again? Like it's like ridiculous. Oh, it's not the Leafs. Okay. The highest. I don't know.
Well, think of who featured the biggest glow up of the season. It's Utah.
Oh, yeah, that makes sense, right?
A 78% increase in valuation.
Jesus.
That's unbelievable.
I don't know how I didn't think about that. That makes sense. Yeah, I just didn't think. You know why? Because like they're starting off fresh, so I probably wasn't comparing to the Coyotes. But yeah, that is wild. But that's a good sign, right? To see this growth like that. I mean, I can't remember the last time I've seen, because I always remember seeing this every year. It's like sometimes it's kind of modest, but this year it's like every team increasing, every team over $1 billion. That's pretty good to see.
But I think that's where we were going always. Can you look up, Raven, what the Seattle expansion fee was? I think it was $650 million, because I remember the Vegas one, and then maybe look up the Vegas one afterward, because I think I remember the Vegas one. It was I think it was $500,000. I wish $500 million. And I think the Seattle one was more. I think it was in the 600 range or 650. It was 650. Yeah. Okay. So it was 650 million for Seattle. And then you had the purchase of the Utah Hockey Club from Alex Mariuello by Smith Entertainment Group, Ashley and Ryan Smith. And that was done for a pretty high price too. I'm pretty sure the price there was $1 billion. And so I think that's what that means now, where, we've talked a little bit, I think, about like some expansion stuff, and, this is part of why expansion happens. It's, the rising tide floats all boat arguments, but it's more of like you're getting to actually, and now we've had like the sale of the Ottawa Senators, the sale of the Tampa Bay Lightning just happened with Jeff Vinnick, selling majority interest in the Lightning for a very high price tag. And you have these values now that you're seeing it. And so now if you're Gary Bettman in the National Hockey League, all of your teams are worth $1 billion. Yes. Even tomorrow, if the Columbus Blue Jackets went for sale, they'd go for over $1 billion, whether they are staying in Columbus, whether the new owner wanted to keep the team as the Blue Jackets, or they were being moved somewhere. They would be sold for $1 billion. Like that's the value of an NHL franchise now.
So you think it adds incentive, like it increases the likelihood of we see more expansion, you think, in the future, like 2 more teams or so?
Maybe. I could see it. I mean, I'm really starting to I want to do a segment with you guys called like in the NHL or not. And we've like totally gone away from the Hawks, but it's all right. I'm wearing a Blues jersey today anyways. So I wanted, because I was watching the Wild play yesterday, and I saw John Merrill on the Minnesota Wild, and I don't know if either of you two would have been able to guess that he was still on an NHL roster.
Yeah,
Or would
probably
you
not.
Would you have? No.
Yeah, I mean, he's kind of a forgettable player for me, to be honest. I mean, I probably would have thought he was a free agent or something, like just not retired, but
or
still
over
active.
in Europe.
But yeah, no, that's fair. That's funny.
Yeah.
But yeah, in terms of the Hawks, there were 6 on that list, right?
Yeah, and they dropped 2 spots from last year.
2 spots. I know it was surprising to see the Kings ahead of them. That's a little. I mean, original 6 team, I think, because the top 4 all original 6, then Kings, then Hawks. I think the Wings are 10th, so that they become a second original 6 team to be passed by, I guess, an expansion team. But yeah, I mean, a little disappointed in that, to be honest. You know, if it ain't first, you're last. So the Blackhawks are basically last. But anyway, that's fine though. They did increase 33%, I believe, in the revenue, 2.45 billion, top 6. So that's good. I mean, yeah, you dropped 2 spots, but I'd like to be in that top 5, you know, with those other original 6 teams. But I don't think that's necessarily a bad sign, though.
How about the Bruins going up in value by 50% too? I think that's the second biggest jump.
I see that. I see the Bruins do that. It's like, well, why aren't we capable of doing that? But I guess it's different situations with the teams right now, right? I think the Hawks, they're going to get an increase in these next few years when we start getting more competitive again, win more games, get back in the playoffs. Yeah, if we're the teams at right now, I guess shouldn't be shocked by that. But
the 3 highest jumps. The 3 highest jumps: Utah, Boston, or Utah, Edmonton, and then Boston.
Edmonton's like right behind us, right? They're like 2.4 billion. They could pass us. Yeah.
Yeah. Yep.
Which that's pretty shocking. I mean, it's not really that shocking, I should say. I mean, they got the best player in the world. It's Edmonton, big Canadian market. So I guess that shouldn't shock me.
Leon Draisaitl locked up for the next 9 years.
That too. Yeah. And then McDavid probably soon after, which, by the way, just got injured and is out for a few weeks. So Oilland might be in travesty right now. It's expected to be a few weeks with the low body. I don't think they got an exact timeline on it yet, but they really got hunkered down here. They can't dig themselves in too much of a hole while they wait for him to return. But that's not going to make their early season struggles that much easier. But maybe they can rally around it. Who knows? But I don't know. Without McDavid, I don't know what that team's going to do, to be honest. They've definitely shown more flaws and weaknesses than maybe we anticipated going into the season. Maybe we need to start dialogue. If are they really a true Stanley Cup favorite right now? I don't think they are.
All right, so before we get into that, we could talk about that in the NHL. I did want to stay with the Sportico.
Back the Hawks,
I did want to. Well, I wanted to stay on the Sportico stuff for a minute too, because you have the Red Wings are all the way down at 10th, which is
original 6 team, and they're well below 2 billion. That's a little surprising, to be honest.
Yeah. Like you're telling me that the Detroit Red Wings aren't worth over $2 billion right now?
Yeah, that is shocking.
Is that like a signal as far as where the franchise is at right now? I feel like this is part of the Hawks hour.
I mean, it's been like almost a decade since they've been to playoffs. They've been waiting years for that Weiser plan to start working. And I don't know, right now that team does not look like it's gonna end that drought this year. I mean, I know it's early days. I think they still could, but that is surprising though. I mean, did they drop even more? I feel like they were higher up, 10th. Did they drop a few spots more?
No, apparently it says they stayed in the same spot. So they were in this spot last year, actually.
Wow. Huh.
I want to see what the biggest risers and the biggest droppers were.
Yeah.
It seems like everybody moved. The Dallas Stars moved up 4 spots. The Avalanche moved down 4 spots. Utah obviously going up 4 spots. Yeah. Those are the biggest.
The Leafs were 3.66 billion. That's nuts.
Yeah, I mean, that's a lot. That's a lot of money, man.
Yeah, seriously. And so we're $1 billion more than us.
And it's like, it's $500 million more almost than the New York Rangers are worth in the number 2 spot too. Almost.
And the Rangers were 1 a few years ago, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah. I could be wrong about that.
I remember that. I think it was last year, or no, maybe not last year.
What's causing this increase for the Leafs? Yeah.
What'd you say?
What's causing like this big jump for the Leafs?
I just think that's always been like, it's the biggest brand in hockey. It's the biggest, they have the biggest fan base. They have the most worldwide fan base. Although I'd argue that the Hawks are really not that far behind. I know you have like,
I think they're up there.
And, but
especially when they're good. I mean, the Hawks fans travel really well, and even when the team's bad, I remember watching like the Avalanche game, like how much red jerseys. Like you always see a ton of red jerseys in the crowd. So Hawks, I think they're definitely a top 5, top 3 fan base. I think in terms of following around the world, I would say for sure. I mean, Toronto is Canada's team. I'm sorry, like maybe not in terms of success, but just in terms of following and that kind of thing. Yeah,
I'm sure if you ask people in Vancouver,
they'll say Canadians, but I don't know.
Well, if you ask people in Vancouver, they'd say people don't like the Leafs around Canada. Like if you're a fan of another team, you really don't like.
They're the most hated. Yeah, I could see that. Yeah.
Like if you're a Canucks
just in terms
fan
of the
or the
market.
Jets fan, you know.
Like Toronto is the hockey capital up there, the province. So yeah, that's
Yeah,
more what I
Montreal's
mean
the
by
same too, but it's a little different there.
that. Yeah,
It's like religion there, you know. And
that's true.
everybody that's
Yeah.
like a Habs fan is like pretty concentrated in Quebec, I would say. You
Yeah,
know.
and Toronto's got a bit of a population edge too. So yeah, but Montreal, like that is what they like. Toronto's got other, they got baseball team, they got basketball team, but Montreal, like it's hockey. Like that is it. So yeah,
And the Habs are number 3 on that ranking, under
yeah.
$3 billion. Also a little bit surprising.
Hmm.
A
Yeah.
little bit, just under though.
Yeah, interesting.
Not to like spend too much time on this, but it was the story of the day, and everybody was kind of following it around and seeing where. And I think it is important, not just for the Hawks to like understand where they are. That yes, the NHL is seeing a big growth, and but it's still up to the organization to really push this out, because apparently even the status quo means you're gonna be jumped by a couple other markets, right?
I was surprised to see. I know LA is a big market, but
Yeah.
I was pretty surprised to see him ahead of the Hawks. And I was like, whoa, that's significant, I think. So definitely Hawks something they should probably look at for sure, and hopefully jump up back ahead of those teams. Yeah, I feel like they should be closer to like that Bruins kind of range. They're close to $3 billion. I feel like that's where they should be. Not a financial expert or whatever, but it feels a little low, to be honest. Even though they increased 33%, I was a little disappointed. 6th place. I feel like they should be at least top 5, top 4. Yeah.
Yeah, I and you want to see the Hawks do well, and first of all, you would know that the Hawks have a big fan base if you looked at the listener count from like the map of all of our listeners and where they're from. You'd know that the Hawks
It's not
are
just
one of the
Chicago.
most.
It's
No,
all over this. It's all over the U.S. A lot
all
of
over the
Canadian
world.
followers, all over the world. No,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Yeah, people, even like an older generation. I mean, this is like going off the rails here a little bit, but like I know of like an older generation, like my parents' generation in Canada. I have some like aunts and uncles and stuff, and they're Blackhawks fans. They're not, and they have no connection to the city of Chicago. Nothing. They never lived here. Maybe they visited once or twice, but I have like, my godfather is like Canadian through and through, and he's the biggest Blackhawks fan ever because he loved the players growing up. He loved the logo. He loved being an anti-Leafs guy, and just was a big Hawks guy. And there's a lot of people like that all over the world.
The Hawks have insane lore, insane history. I think that helps with that, right? It's a big reason why they have this large fan base. They also have, I don't know if they still do, but I know for a while they have the largest social media following, combining all the platforms. I don't know if it's still the most, but I know it's definitely up there for sure. I think Pittsburgh Penguins have passed them on Instagram, but forever they had the most Instagram followers. But I just had to throw that in there. But no, I mean it applies to, I guess, all facets for sure. Yeah.
Do the Hawks have one of the most followed Instagrams?
I think it's the second most. I must have been passed by more. I know the Penguins. I think the Penguins are the most, which is kind of surprising. But
the Hawks are at 1.8 million. That's really surprising.
I think that's second. But we combine all the.
Are only at 1.4.
You combine Facebook, like Twitter, TikTok, all that stuff. I think the Hawks are, if they're not the most, they're close. Yeah.
The Penguins are at double the social media following that the Maple Leafs have.
That is
2.8 million to 1.4. You think that's the Sidney Crosby effect?
I think so. I think they had a ton, during those back-to-back cup runs for sure. Like, because the Hawks were in front for a while, and then that happened, and it's kind of recent years but that's just such a big gap, and it's the Penguins. Like, I know it's it's a big team, but it's like you look at the market valuations, they're 1.47 billion. That's probably mid. So, but they have such a large social media following.
I think maybe also part of it is like Sid doesn't have social media.
Yeah, that is true.
So like fans of his don't have anywhere to be redirected to other than like the Penguins account. Raven's got something here. What do you got?
So from a year ago, I have some beautiful hockey fans on Reddit went through all of the teams, TikTok, YouTube, Tumblr, Facebook, Reddit, Instagram, Twitter. Chicago is first overall with first on Twitter, Facebook, and TikTok, second on Instagram. Toronto Maple Leafs are number 2, and they are the most followed team on Reddit, surprisingly.
I knew I was onto something with the Hawks. Yeah.
The Hawks are the most watched or the most followed team on Reddit?
No, the Maple Leafs are.
Oh.
Blackhawks are on Twitter, Facebook, and TikTok, and number 2 on Instagram.
Yeah,
Gotcha.
So that's got to be first. So you combine them all. Yeah. Interesting.
That is interesting.
Yeah. But But the Penguins have had such a fascinating history because like it's a team that's almost gone bankrupt twice. You have to have 5 Stanley Cups. They like have the largest social media following. Like it's fascinating.
They were about to move to Kansas City before they drafted Sidney Crosby.
That's true. And the Muse saved the franchise twice. He saved them when he was drafted, and he saved them by drafting Crosby. That's crazy.
And by buying the team.
Yeah, by buying it. Yeah, my bad.
Yeah. Well, and drafting Crosby. I mean,
and he still played with them. He was like a player owner for a year. That's nuts.
That is nuts. I would love to see that again. Yeah, that'd be really
Crosby
cool.
does the same thing.
Ooh, I don't know that Fenway Sports Group is giving it. Maybe they would give him a little bit of a, percentage of the team if he sticks around. He should. I think they should give Alexander Ovechkin, if we're talking about like players who have earned percentages of their team. Think of like, all right, let's look at the Washington Capitals.
Ovechkin is the Washington Capitals. Like when you look at their history, like he is that franchise.
They're not on this list. They're above the Red Wings. They're one spot above the Red Wings.
That's got because of him.
It's all because of him.
Yeah.
It's all because of him. So you're telling me that like that guy doesn't deserve, 5-10%.
Yeah, give him a stake. 100%. Give him all the stock he wants over there. Yeah.
Yeah, I totally would do that.
That's a big part of why I think the Hawks are gonna go up too, because I think the Bedsy effect, like it's just kind of starting to marinate, right? So I think that's gonna help out a lot too if the jersey sales, all that stuff. I know it's kind of different, but just in terms of his effect, I think the Hawks will go back up in years and kind of get back in that top 3 where they were. So I know for a while the Hawks were right behind the Leafs and the Rangers, and now they're 6, but I think they can definitely get back up there. Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. It just and I think the Hawks are doing the right stuff on the business side, and I know, there's a lot of frustration on this show about the CHSN situation. But, give credit to the Blackhawks for, being a market where players can get sponsorship deals, where players can come here and make money outside of their contracts. Like this is one of the few markets, there are some smaller local markets like Buffalo and stuff where, in Ottawa and those kinds of Winnipeg where they do really care about the hockey. So, I don't know, Minnesota, I guess you could call a small market team too. But, when you have these markets like Chicago and Toronto that can put money in the pockets for the players on the other side of things, you're able to put together a more competitive team. Maybe guys are willing to take a little bit less because they know that, yes, I might be losing a little bit money here, but I'm going to make more in sponsorships here than I would taking a little bit more money to go play in Anaheim, right?
Oh yeah, the Hawks have always been huge for endorsements, and Kane Tays made bags that way. Bedsy's making a bag of Lululemon and Fanatics right now. So Hawks are definitely a top market for a player. If like you want to put your face out there, your brand out there, the Hawks will definitely help you with that for sure. Big market original 6 team with all the history heritage it has. Yeah, it's a great perk of being a Blackhawk for sure.
But it shows that like the Hawks are filled with smart people. They know what they're doing. Who is the Cubs guy that they had in the organization for a little bit?
Oh, what's that guy's name?
But now he works for the Tigers, I think.
I know who you're talking about. It's like Greenberg or something.
I think so. Oh gosh.
I know exactly what you're talking about though.
But you know what I mean? Like the Hawks are like trying to push the industry forward, and they've always been good. That's never been the issue with the organization the business side and promoting the team and having them as part of the community. And
Jeff Greenberg is who you were talking
about.
Yeah,
I do. Yeah, it was there somewhere. Yeah, there we go.
Yeah, so I'm trying to think what else you got. Anything before we hit a break? We're going to keep it a bit of a quicker show here since we don't have any reprieve from Lee to help out in the chance that Justin's got to run a class. So we
don't have the lineup yet or anything, right? Do we for the game tonight? I don't think so.
Game tomorrow night.
The game tomorrow night. My bad. I'm so ready for that game. I want it to be today. I wish it was today, but have Halloween off. But
I don't. I mean, yes, it would be nice to have Halloween off, but dude, my voice was so shot yesterday, and I still kind of needed the day today. I almost thought about taking the day off, but because Lee wasn't going to be on the show, I wouldn't leave you to do a whole podcast.
Powering through it,
So I'm powering through today, but I am glad that after this, I get to go on vocal rest the rest of the day.
That's fair. Unless you want to talk more about, I know we kind of cover the game on Monday, unless you want to delve into that one more. I
thought it was a good win. We didn't really get to talk about it on here. The Hawks played well. The Avs didn't. I would say.
Mhm.
You know, like it wasn't really
Felt like a
their best
winnable game for them. I
Like
feel
they're
they kinda threw
such
that
a
away.
like they're such a team that relies on the top guys that if the Hawks played them well and they did what they had to do, they got a couple of goals and you put a few in the net and that you win the game, right?
I
Like
think
that.
it's promising for the Hawks too. The fact that they won, they scored 5 goals. Yes, 2 of them empty netters, but a big team like the Avalanche, and Bedard didn't have a point in that game. Like I know some people see it as a negative, but I see it as a positive where it's like this team is capable of winning games even when Bedsy doesn't have his best game, which is something like I've said it before. It's like I don't know how much games this team's going to win when Bedsy doesn't show up, right? It's like it's almost like we're screwed, but it shows no, we're not screwed. And there's enough talent in this team to kind of pick up the pieces, you know what I mean? But I think against the Sharks, you want to see them covered down. But no, I think it was a good team win for the Hawks, definitely. Strong 60-minute effort. The fact that they held the Avs, without a goal for 2 periods, and how much times can we say that this season? They actually had to lead and held on to it, something they've struggled with. So yeah, hopefully this will become a theme for them for sure. I think a lot of positives to take away from that game overall. Yeah, for sure.
All right. Yeah, no, I agree. It's all about tomorrow for me now. How do you
fair.
respond? Can you, do what the Sharks did? Can you string together 2 wins in a row?
Got to get consecutive wins.
yeah.
We haven't done that yet, and the Hawks have struggled with that, where it's like they look great one game, then look like a completely different team the next. So you got to get consistency going, and then let's go on a little run here. Let's sweep California. Why not? Why not? Let's sweep California. Let's get the 6-6 and 1. Let's get the 500 in the season. I'm Mr. Positivity today. Why not? The vibes are high. Halloween's coming up. No Nut November, so I gotta get these Bedsy highlights in before then. But yeah, no, I mean we gotta be positive, and I think I think it's looking good. I'm looking forward to tomorrow for sure. Yeah.
All right. On that, we're going to hit a break. Everybody, be sure to subscribe to this YouTube channel, please, at Chicago Hockey Radio. Helps us out tremendously. Also, follow us on Instagram. That helps us out a lot. Really, just, gives a ton of growth to the show and makes it so other people can find it and is making it so we can continue to do more of this. So please subscribe, follow us on Instagram, leave a 5-star rating and review on the show page, Spotify especially. Even if you're just a video listener, it helps us if you go over to the audio. Same thing if you're just an audio listener. It helps if you go over to the video. I am going to droll on here for another second. Share it with a friend. Tell a friend. If you like this show, if you're watching this show, be like, hey, my other friend that's a Chicago Blackhawks fan, listen to Chicago Hockey Radio. Here's the link. Send him a link. Be like, here, listen to the show. Post it on your social media. If you really dig us that much, tag us at Tassos Kirkos, at Lee Grossman, with 2 N's at the end, and at BHawk Memes on Instagram, or you could plug in your personal one too. We're trying to get Justin to plug his personal Instagram in here a little bit more too.
I like being Batman. I like people kind of not knowing who I am. I'm just joking.
I mean, they know who you are now, bud.
Yeah.
Not today though, with that costume on, but
shake
doing all
and
those
bake,
things. Doing all of those things, like sharing it with a friend, putting it on your social media story, tagging us. We'll repost it. We show the love back to everybody that shows love to us, and the DMs mean a lot. Ask us questions too for Fridays when we do. We do mailbag on Fridays. They can be Hawks related. They can be non-Hawks related. They could be, you could type out your question. You could send us in a video. You could send us in an audio recording, and we could play it here on the podcast if you're not too concerned about that. You can include your name and where you're from. You can not include your name or where you're from. We're really not picky. We're just trying to connect with our fan base and the fan base of the Hawks as much as possible. So when you share it and when you tell other people about it, it does a lot to help us. And if you enjoy what we're doing, then and the other thing about all those things, Justin, and then we're going to hit a break, they're all free. They don't cost you $1.
That's right.
They don't cost you $1. So, we love all the time and that people have spent watching us and all the comments and all the chat engagement. Like, it's so fun doing this. It's been the most fun we've had podcasting with this company. So we're going to keep it up. But if you do all those things, then we can make it even better and bigger. So we're going to hit a break. That's it for Hawks Hour. We're going to come back with a quick NHL Hour. We're going to take a quick break here. So keep it here on the other side.
Hell yeah.
All right, welcome back to Chicago Hockey Radio NHL Hour. Justin, Tassos, and Raven in the house. Sharks on Halloween, but we're here to transition to the NHL Hour. And maybe we should start with this, because I did a little bit on Marc-Andre Fleury today, and he did have a brief stint with the Hawks. However brief it was a stint with the Hawks nonetheless, and it was kind of an interesting time in the Hawks. I mean, it was the end of the Tays and Kane. It was the very end. It was getting him from Vegas right after he had won the Vezina Trophy, and it was a very weird trade, and they wanted to transition to Robin Lehner as the full-time starter, who was another former Hawk himself, who has not really played much since then, even himself. And obviously they went on to win the Stanley Cup with Adin Hill and company there, Jonathan Quick, and oh boy, who was the other goalie there? Was it Laurent Brossoit, current Hawk?
That sounds correct. I think so. Yeah.
Current Hawk.
We're still waiting for him to return. Yeah, we'll see. Hopefully soon. Yeah.
So a lot of intertwining between, but it was his final game in Pittsburgh, and it's his final season in the National Hockey League. And I talked about how, I talked about on my morning show today that there was a player I grew up playing with, a goalie, and he had the Fleury pads and the Fleury jerseys that he would wear, and the Fleury helmet. He played like him, and he loved him, and he was one of my favorite goalies in the NHL growing up too, and just was so charismatic, and played on those Penguins teams that I can close my eyes and I can picture some of those games against like Claude Giroux and the Flyers, and Henrik Lundqvist and the Rangers, and Ovechkin and the Capitals,
Sure.
and
Kunitz's game winner against the Senators, the conference finals.
yeah.
Yeah.
So, I just I think about a lot of those games with Flower, and, he had his ups and downs in Pittsburgh. It was not always really easy.
So in the playoffs, they had to go to Matt Murray a few times because he sometimes didn't show up come playoff time. Yeah.
Well, yeah, I mean, later on, when they won the back-to-back cups. But I'm thinking back to they played a
2009
series against the Flyers. Well, 2009 when they won the cup. But
He
I
was
think it was
great. He was great that year.
what was the year that can you look this up, Raven? What year did the Penguins and the Flyers play in the
I think it was
first round?
2012 or something.
Do you remember that
Claude
series?
Claude
Every
Giroux had
game-
an insane series.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and every game was it felt like every game was
Eight-
like 8-6 or
There was like a there's that was a controversial offsides goal. I think that Danny Briere scored. I'm not sure
Yeah.
if it was called off or if it stood. I can't remember, but that was an insane series. A lot of fun to watch. Those two teams had a great rivalry. The Penguins, they were always just. I mean, they were the Blackhawks of the Eastern Conference during the 2010s.
Yeah.
I mean, they literally never missed the playoffs. By the way, which is something Hawks did miss playoffs later on. The Penguins never did. Won 3 cups, but in 8 years, not 6. But no, always so fun to watch. And Fleury's a big part of that. Always been a fan favorite. I remember playing when I was hockey, and some people would always be wearing Fleury jerseys and stuff. It's definitely a guy a lot of goalies look up to, just as the personality he brought. Even though he wasn't a Hawk for very long, I enjoyed the time he was a Blackhawk. Feels like a fever dream looking back, and I was like, did that really happen? Was he really here? But he was, and I enjoyed it for sure. Even in a dark season, he provides some light. Yeah.
And also the ultimate what if too of if that team had played better, and
Feels like that team should have been better than they were. But
could he have finished his career as a
Yeah.
Blackhawk instead of a member of the Minnesota Wild, right?
Yeah. I mean, yeah, there's a lot of what ifs about that season. I think that getting off to that 1-9-2 start with Jeremy Colleton kind of screwed that season over. And as we know, there's some other things early on that season that probably put a dent on it. But yeah, no, definitely a rough season. But at the same time, it kind of needed to happen because it's what moved on from Stan Bowman and brought Davidson in and finally started this rebuild. I think we'd probably still be stuck in mediocrity if that doesn't happen. So yeah.
Yeah, agreed. I just wanted to give Flower his flowers, and he was just such an important face of the NHL for a long time. It feels
It's his
like
last
not
season,
like the
right?
face,
So
but
sad.
yeah. It totally feels like part of my childhood is going by the wayside now, even though it's not like he's dying. He's just retiring from professional hockey in the National Hockey League. But I wanted to give Flower his shout out. That was a really nice tribute to him yesterday, and being named the first star of the game, and having Sid and Chris Letang hang out
cool.
there on the ice. It was so cool.
Yeah.
It was so cool.
Yeah, for sure.
The other big story out of last night was the injury, or 2 nights ago, I guess, was the injury to Connor McDavid against the Blue Jackets. Yeah. Well, the Blue Jackets were absolutely laying the beating on the Edmonton Oilers too.
6-1, right?
Yeah. And then making things from bad to worse was obviously the injury to Connor McDavid. I did not see the update, although Justin, you did get an update on McDavid.
Yeah, let me get you the source here. I'll find it, but I think I want to say it was Friedman, maybe it was just Oilers PR.
Okay.
Let's see. Yeah, Friedman. Yeah, Connor McDavid is expected to miss at least a couple weeks due to lower body injury. So that can mean a lot of things. I mean, it's not the best news, but I suppose it could have been worse, right? I think there probably was some worry that'd be worse. But from what I saw, I mean, I'm no expert when it comes to this stuff. You always get those comments like, "Oh, that's going to be this amount of time." It's like, who knows? But and it didn't look that bad to me. Like I was like, that's probably going to be a week or so, but maybe a little more. We'll see. But for the Oilers, very important time. Like you're 4-5-1 this season. You're going to be without McDavid for probably close to 10 games, maybe a little less, give or take. Um, you can't dig yourselves in too much of a hole while you're waiting for him to get back in the lineup. But at the same time, you take him out of that lineup that's already been struggling. It's like, where's it going to come from? Like Drysdale's got to step up. Like that's a guy who really needs to produce. But not just him. I mean, Hyman's hardly done anything this season. He's after coming up with 50 goals, and yeah, he's kind of suffering from the McDavid merchant allegations. So I think he's got to prove he can do something without him these next couple weeks. Yeah,
I agree. You're talking about Hyman, right? Or are you talking
about I start off with Drysdale, then led to Hyman.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree with that. Sorry, I was reading something else.
No
To
worries.
answer your earlier question, Tassos, yes, it was 2011, 2012.
Oh, that Flyers Penguins series?
That's right. Yeah,
what a good hockey season 2011, 2012 was.
Yeah. I mean, all those 2010 seasons, I feel like they had so much aura to them.
Mm-hmm.
And the NBC, Doc Emmerich commenting the playoffs. I missed that a lot. It's not the same. They had
don't even get me started.
They had the Stanley Cup playoffs logo actually painted on the ice, which I don't know why that's not there anymore. But anyway, there's so much things to glaze about that era. And the physicality was a bit better than it was now, too. And a little low scoring, but I kind of liked it that way, to be honest. Thought defensive goaltending was at its peak, but you got guys like Kane, Crosby, and Ovechkin who were ruining the league, and so much fun.
So many of those playoff series that I think of, like the Hawks Kings series, even like the Hawks Sharks ones. Those San Jose Sharks teams were so good.
It's a crime they never won a cup.
Yeah,
they should have for sure, 100%.
Yeah, Edmonton has a lot to prove to me before I'm ready to say. And look, this is the team I picked to win the Stanley Cup before the season started.
Yeah, I think it was for me too.
And I've watched them play now, and I'm like, how did they make the Stanley Cup final last season? Like, how did they actually do that? Like, Stuart Skinner, you follow up your third shutout of your NHL career by getting pumped by Columbus. And I don't know. After Calvin Pickard comes in and like takes 2 points for you guys out of Detroit and Leon Draisaitl and the two of you, or the two of them really. But Stuart Skinner befuddles me. The defense is not Stanley Cup contender worthy. And
yeah, no.
Evan Bouchard has one of the best shots in the NHL. And I might take some heat for saying this.
Not the best defensively.
No, I don't know what else he provides, really. Like, I don't know. Like, he's okay defensively. He's not otherworldly. He's not super physical. Like, he's not the most physical guy out on their back end. He's not Matthias Ekholm out there. In fact, you have to play him with Matthias Ekholm because, one, Matthias Ekholm is Matthias Ekholm, but Bouchard doesn't do those things. You can't
exactly. You need to put with somebody
guards
like that, or else like you're going to get exposed defensively, 100%.
Yeah, you can't put Brett Kulak with Bouchard and then Ekholm with Nurse, right, or something like that, or vice versa, Nurse with Bouchard and Ekholm with somebody else, right? I don't know.
Nurse, I'm not sure how he's making $9.25 million. Like, he makes me appreciate Seth Jones more. Which, yeah, I mean, he made McKinnon look like Ricky Bobby the other night, but he still had a pretty good start to the season. But Nurse, yikes! I mean, not much to glaze in that defense. I mean, Ekholm. Thank God for that addition. That has been a great addition. I mean, because I can't imagine where that defense would be without Ekholm right now.
But he's 34.
I know, but that says a lot right there. That 34-year-old Ekholm is probably their best in terms of defense, right now.
Yeah. I agree. I just, and now the injury to McDavid and Zach Hyman and hasn't been producing, and Evander Kane is still out with an injury, and even when he returns, you have no idea what he's going to look like.
Feels like they could use Dylan Holloway and Philip Broberg right now, huh?
Oh my gosh! I mean, Broberg's playing like 25 minutes a night in St. Louis right now.
I will say it's with Stan Bowman taking over that team. It does make me happy to see this. Like, not to root for the team's downfall. I'm not saying that, but I wouldn't say I'm not enjoying it at the moment. But at the same time, they did go off to an even worse start last season. We know what happened, so they could very easily rebound. this Oilers team's been known to do that. They go through these stretches early in the season, like 21-22, I think was the same way. They fired their coach, replaced him with Woodcroft, and they got, they went on a run. And 22-23, maybe that was the one year that didn't happen. But then, last year got off to a slow start, fired Woodcroft, and then got Knobloch in. So I don't know, maybe this is the year, but we'll see. I think they'll get out of it, but it's definitely not an awe-inspiring start for sure. But especially after how the way last season ended. But maybe that's a big part of why.
So, yeah, I agree. Did you have any other thoughts from last night's games? Obviously, I mean, this morning I talked about Ovechkin.
There were two
and
8-goal
getting a couple
games.
goals.
I mean, 2 blowouts, the Kraken, the Habs. I know the Habs fans were not very happy last night the way that was going, which I think there's been some discussions about if Martin St. Louis is the guy over there. I know maybe he's on the hot seat right now. And the Senators 8-1 against the Blues. It looks like the Blues are finally crashing back down to earth. I was never sold on them. I don't think that team's very good. And the Senators, man, like they're finally starting to look like the team that they've been hyped up to be these last few years. I feel like everybody's always said this is the year that they're finally going to break through, and maybe this is it. I mean, they look pretty legit right now, it must be said.
So, yeah, about those games. So with the Senators, I said this on the morning show too. Linus Ullmark, when he's in net, they just play taller. Like they just stand a few inches taller on their skates, and they know that not every mistake is going to end up a goal in the back of their net. They know, this guy's going to play his rear end off. He's really going to work his tail off, and that he is one of the best goalies in the league. And even when you think that, and you're like, if you're in an, I could imagine if you're Drake Batherson, right? And you're going into an NHL game and Eunice Korpisalo is your starting goalie and he started 4 out of the last 6 games. And, you go into that game. I could imagine if you're Drake Batherson thinking about that game being like, he might let in a few that, we could have, like, or somebody else would have had, right? But with Ullmark, it's a little bit of like the opposite, where you're thinking to yourself, hey, this guy's got us. I can go do things and make plays and not really have to worry about things too much on the other end of my ice because we have a top 10 goalie in the NHL. So I think that's a big thing. Obviously, St. Louis is terrible, I think. So, that's, getting pumped 8-1 isn't really, but
so that's why you wear the Blues jersey. It's awful there. That's okay. There we go. I see the vision now. But no, that's such a good point you bring up. I think teams definitely play differently depending on the goalie and then the net. I know I've said this before, but last year watching the Blackhawks, it looked like a pretty different team when Mrazek was starting versus Sullivan. They just had no confidence. But this year, like when you have that confidence in your goaltending, like you can take those risks because the guy he can bail you out with you, right? Whereas if other goaltenders, it's like you feel like you got to be in the way of every single shot, right? You can't let anything through, or else you're gonna get screwed. So. And yeah, just definitely a good point to that for sure.
The other thing that I wanted to make mention of that you said was the Marty St. Louis, that he might be on the hot seat. I have heard that. I've heard people talk about it. The questions in the media in Montreal are getting a little bit more hard pressed against Marty. I think that's such a joke, to be honest with you. I think it's such a joke. This is a Hall of Fame player who has turned the careers of guys like Cole Caulfield around. I don't know how you could ever warrant getting rid of that guy right now when you're built the way you're built. This is the goaltending in Montreal is atrocious. Sam Montembeault is not an NHL goalie, in my opinion. I'm sorry.
No.
All the people that say he should be Team Canada's starter at the Four Nations.
I say yes. Let's make him Team Canada starter as an American fan. Hell yeah.
Yeah. Sure. Go ahead. Connor McDavid and co will need to score 10 goals a game to keep up. I don't know. He's not. And Caden Primo, I've been really high on him when he was at Northeastern, and now I have been following him a lot really closely, and I want him to succeed. And they also don't give him a ton of help. It's not like Montreal has any, when Mike Matheson is your best defenseman, I know he's been really good there, but it's Mike Matheson. You're asking him to do everything for the team. Like, and Lane Hudson is still a lot of people. I've heard a lot of arguments that Lane Hudson should be in the AHL right now.
And is he like a minus? Like he has so much skill and he's got the puck. I say, but I feel like he's doing too much out there. He's giving too much giveaways, too much turnovers. He's like a rover, like a 4-forward out there, more than a defenseman at times.
I think it was like so much talent. Goal. I think it was like the 8th or 7th goal for Seattle last night. It was like brutal Lane Hudson.
That's not an NHL play. And I'm a big fan of the kid. And I like St. Louis. I think I was just most saying what the media is saying, which to be fair, when you're in Montreal, like the media is always going to be on you more than other markets. I mean, that's probably the market out besides the Leafs maybe that has more pressure on a coach. But I think he's doing the best of what he can for the most part. I don't think that roster, especially if the injuries they have, and I would say the line injury definitely seems to take a bit of the sting out of that season for sure. But it's not that much better, that team. If anything, it's probably the same. So another rebuilding year for them or another tank season. But yeah, I mean, I think he's doing the best of what he can. I think, yeah, you look at Caulfield, I mean, he's having an insane season. It's easy to forget like where he was at when Ducharme was the coach there. Yeah, and he's definitely coming into his own. So I think as long as the young players like that and Slavkovsky are playing well, it's like, who cares what the record is, honestly, like where that team's at right now. Yeah.
Yeah. Cole Caulfield is definitely one of my favorite players to watch in the NHL. Not even close. Like,
he's so much fun. Yeah.
So much fun.
Yeah.
Also, thank you to whoever just subscribed. Appreciate you. Keep doing it, people out there. It's fun. It's a good time. Thank you to whoever just did that.
Yeah, somebody was listening to you.
Yeah, heck yeah. No, that's the thing. That's why we do it, because every time we say it on the show, people go out and do the things that we say help us, like subscribing and 5 stars and following on Instagram. So that is why we say it. It's not to preach to the people that are already doing it, but to get the ones that aren't. So, yeah, what else? Any thoughts on the games tonight? 6 games around the NHL this evening.
Yeah,
do any of them suit your fancy? My games of the night are obviously the Abs and the Bolts, and then the late game, the Canucks and oh boy, who are they playing? The Devils, right? Hughes brother matchup.
That's pretty. That's a good one. I'd say maybe Golden Knights Kings. That could be an interesting one. Another late one, but those are 2 teams that have had pretty interesting starts this season. You didn't say Lightning Abs, did you?
I did. Yeah.
Oh crap, you did. My bad. My memory's terrible. I'll say Jets Red Wings. I'll never pass up a chance to watch my boy Kaner play. The Jets finally no longer undefeated. They're now 8-1, so no more undefeated teams left. How they bounce back from that. Red Wings could definitely use a win against a team like that, but it could be tricky. So yeah, I'll say Jets Wings, and then Vegas Kings for my games. Yeah.
Michael Backlund will play his 1,000th game tonight for the Calgary Flames against the Utah Hockey Club. Wow. 2 teams both looking for bounce back wins. Captain.
Yeah, that's a big one too. 1,000 games for Backlund. Wow, that's something. He's been around for a while, man. What was he? 2007 draft pick or something?
Something like that. I have it here in my notes. 73rd player in NHL history to play his 1,000th game, all with the same franchise. So, I
appreciate that. I feel like he's always been an underrated player, good defensive player. And
2007 draft. You're right. Do you know what round and what pick?
I want to say, I think he was actually a pretty high pick, if not mistaken. I could be wrong in saying that. Was he second round?
Nope.
40 something. He wasn't a first rounder, was he?
Yes.
20 something.
Yeah, 20 something. 21.
22.
24. You're close.
Close.
24.
I knew he was like late first, early second, but he's always had decent like 2-way game, right? More of a defensive player, but he can put up 50 points. And I think some people question the decision, but I think he's been a very great captain over there. I think he's a big part of why that team's having the success they are right now, which is, credit to him. So the Flames 5-3-1, I would not have thought. But Utah, I mean, after that hot start, they've yet to win a game in a while. So they really could use a bounce back. And they let the San Jose Sharks score 3 goals on them in 5 minutes and lose. So I'm not sure how you do that. So yeah, they got some work to do over there. Maybe this is a game that could finally get that kind of start to right the ship. Yeah.
Agreed.
Yeah.
What else? Any other thoughts from tonight? I did have one thing I wanted to bring up to you.
I think the Blue Jackets have had pretty. I will say I've been impressed with them. Like I had low expectations, to start the season. I don't think that team really had any expectations to start the season after everything that happened. But I think that team's playing inspired hockey, and I think Monahan's been a great fit there. He's been a great 1C. I think he's playing very motivated this season. He's doing well. And some of those young guys are finally starting to get going. Like Cheetah's been good. Fantilli, he's starting to get going. So I'm impressed with them. I hope they can keep this kind of run going. They're 4-3-1, but I think they can. The way they're looking, I've been impressed. Yeah.
All right. Moving away from NHL, and this is the last thing, and then we'll wrap here for the day. I did want to, because we brought this up before, or I've brought this up to you and Lee before, but Lee's not here, and we had a bit of news on this front, so I wanted to bring it up again for everybody's sake, especially now that we're further along into doing this show now. I'm a big fan of women's hockey. I'm a big PWHL fan.
Oh, yeah.
Have some people that I know that are in the league, whether working or playing or whatever. So love the PWHL. Great product. Only on the rise. They announced yesterday its plans to add 2 more expansion teams for the 2025-26 season. This is per PWHL Senior VP of Business Operations, Amy Shear. She said that at the ESPNW Summit yesterday. also announced plans for an outdoor game, also announced like that they're trying to work on that for this season, and also that they are going to be doing some barnstorming around the United States and Canada. That is part one of the story. And then part two of the story is that the Hockey News got their panel, I guess, of women's hockey writers to put who they would put as their first choice and second choice for these two expansion teams. And between them, Chicago, between how many people? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Between 12 people and 2 picks each person, Chicago appeared on 1, 2 picks. Rick Menning had Chicago as his first choice, followed by Detroit as his second choice. And C. Benwell had Halifax as their first choice and Chicago as their
I would have
second.
thought there'd be more people saying Chicago. I think it'd do great here.
I think it would
hope
too.
we see it.
I think it would too.
I think was it Detroit and Calgary had the most, if I'm not mistaken. I could be wrong in saying that.
I think Detroit and Pittsburgh are the two front runners for right now.
Okay.
Calgary is a big market for women's hockey. It's a big hockey market in general, obviously. And the thing about places like Calgary and Edmonton is there's nothing else there. So
yeah, exactly. So it's people are gonna watch it. They gotta watch something, right?
Yeah. But like, it's not like there's an NBA team in Calgary or something, or Major League Baseball, right? Like, it's the Flames, it's the Wranglers in the AHL, it's the Hitmen in the WHL, it's the Stampede, I guess, during CFL season, and that's about it, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's the what do they call it? Oh gosh, this is how not Canadian we are. This is an American pod. What do they do that? Come on, what's the event where all the
Curling?
NHL? No, come on, dude. It's like the country festival. Look up the big country. It's the Calgary Stampede. That's what it's called. That's
my bad. Oh, you're talking about football. My bad. I was in a different space.
Oh no, there's the Calgary Stampede football team. That's the CFL team. And then there's the actual Calgary Stampede, which is like a week-long festival, right? Am I right, Raven, or am I wrong? I have no idea. I'm asking him a lot of questions.
PWHL is mostly East Coast right now, right? So they could definitely use more of a Midwest. Get some Midwest teams in there. It's pretty much most East Coast teams.
But I think that's how you grow this, though, right? Like you can't,
like, you need to expand across the region.
But you can't, like, I don't think they have the infrastructure to put a team in Calgary. You know what I mean? Like, you can't have all these teams here
put a team
and
in
then
LA
one team in Calgary.
you're moving over. Yeah, that's fair.
You know, like, what are they going to do? Like, fly, if you put a team in Buffalo and Pittsburgh and Detroit and Chicago, like, that's how I think this league is going to grow, because then you could, like, it's easy travel,
the
right?
logistics makes more sense.
Yeah.
That's fair.
Did Raven get some more information on Calgary for us?
Yes, there is an event. It's right after the American July, like our Independence Day. It's on July 5th this year.
Calgary Stampede.
Yeah. Shania Twain will be there
in 2025.
Yes. Yeah. Their musical.
That's like it's like one of the biggest music festivals in Canada.
It's like the biggest country one, it looks like. Because there's like rodeos and stuff. There's a bunch that goes on during that.
Yeah, half the NHL pulls up to the Calgary Stampede.
I'd love to talk more about the Calgary Stampede, but unfortunately, I gotta get to my 1:30, boys.
No, I wanted to like get your feelings on the PWHL
for sure
expansion, and if Chicago could do it. So you're on board.
Yeah, I'm totally on board. I want Chicago, PWHL in Chicago, women's hockey. I think that'd be fantastic, great for the city. I think it would do well for sure.
Cool.
And then good kick of feel. I'll let you close it out, and I will see you tomorrow on the post game show.
Raven has to get ready for Justin to leave. Oh boy. So I don't know if we have a solo thing here. I don't think we do. So I think, I look like a goofy kind of guy right now. All right. So I guess we're going to wrap the show there. Be sure to like, subscribe, leave 5 stars, follow the podcast on Instagram, and follow the show pages on Spotify or Apple Podcasts, wherever you listen to your podcast. And we will see everybody after the post game tomorrow on Halloween against the San Jose Sharks, CHR late night, and then be back for the podcast Friday. Peace out.